Brené Brown has said we are brave and brokenhearted. She reminds us that we rise not in spite of our brokenness and adversity, but in many cases because of it. Often our struggles become part of our identity. The point is not that being broken or hurt is somehow a good thing for us. No, the point is simply that it is a reality we all experience in varying degrees. At some point in our lives, we will lose. We will fall and fail and make huge mistakes. Our hearts will get broken. We will lie and be lied to. We will run up against a larger adversary. We will trip up and land hard. Each of us, at one point or another, or at many points along the way, will break. Our struggles are not good. Getting hurt and heartbroken is not good. It's simply reality. The point is that it's possible to fall down and rise up again. The point is that it's possible. It's possible to fall down. In fact, it's something that we do a lot and then rise up again. The struggles we survive become part of our identity. Rising up from the heartbreak and the trouble is what shows that we are resilient. Brené Brown says we are brave and brokenhearted. Our stories are littered with examples of our resilience. As Helen Keller remarked, although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it. I have approached the topic of resilience several times over the years. It's a central theme in spirituality and in life. It is something that I've tried to understand better, to live more fully, to offer to others. I've read about it and thought about it quite a lot. And lately it seems when I look up the word, there is some reference to pillows. This pillow is resilient. It springs back and holds up its form over the years by this pillow. So our pillows spring back into their original form. And that is seen as a mark of resilience for pillows. Our lives, our spirits, have the quality of not springing back, but springing forward. After living through adversity or heartbreak, we don't ever return to what had been, never back into our original form. Instead, we emerge changed, yet still true to our original form. Consider the example of baseball superstar Jackie Robinson. In the 1940s and 50s, Robinson demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. As the first African American to play in the major leagues, he persisted through relentless harassment from fans and fellow players alike. He did not spring back to his original form after the slurs and the abuses. He sprang forward. He emerged changed, yet true. And that example led the sport and eventually the country to also move forward, changed, yet true. We do not spring back to our original form. We spring forward, changed, yet still true to that original form, and we rise. We rise because we have fallen. This is worth remembering, not just for personal difficulties. Resilience is a communal quality as well. Social change and the vagaries of politics can be disheartening. I have been frustrated and angry about much of what has been going on politically lately. The impeachment proceedings ran its course pretty much how I expected they would. But even outside of the partisan aspect, there are concerns that I have about the health of our democracy right now that I did not have 4 years ago. I certainly hope our nation is resilient. I certainly hope that we rise from this, because I'm weary of all of this falling. Like the adversity Jackie Robinson and other African Americans have experienced, like the devastation of the Stonewall Uprising, like the heartbreak and the slander the suffragettes suffered. May the time in which we now live also prove to be a turning point toward greater progress and resilience. Recently, in a worship service, I emphasized the natural aspects of resilience. I said it's a capacity that we all have within us naturally, but that doesn't mean it's easy. As a major turning point in my life, I discovered, at that major turning point, I discovered this quote from Maya Angelou. She said, "No one knows what it costs the bulb, the onion bulb or the tulip bulb, to split, to crack itself open, to allow that thin tendril of life to emerge." Was anyone at our children's story time? I read a story, and some of you may have been surprised at the ending. It's called After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. It's a children's story by Dan Santet. It's a really nice retelling with a good message. Humpty Dumpty overcomes his fear of heights, right? And so in the story, he had fallen, as it says in that nursery rhyme, but he works at it. He becomes stronger, and he gets over his fear of heights. I saw that one coming. He was terrified as he climbs up the wall again, but he climbs it anyway. I saw that coming. That part was predictable. It was good. I loved it. And it was predictable. It's what you expect from a story like this. But I was surprised at the end. At the end of that story, the egg cracked, and Humpty Dumpty spread his wings and flew. But of course, there would be a bird inside the egg. Of course. Because we all have wings. But oh, the cost. The cost of cracking yourself open to allow the wounded place to both heal and break wider. Oh, the cost to open oneself and allow the tender tendril of life into the harsh world. Resilience is hard. When we most want to curl up and protect what is precious, the way forward is to paradoxically both heal and break wider. Resilience is the art of how we move forward through heartbreak and adversity, that we may rise. And as I said before, it's natural. How do we overcome? What does it take to be resilient? One answer is that resilience is a natural capacity we all have within us. And at the same time, it is a quality that we can enhance and practice and become better at. There are skills that can develop, ways we can practice our resilience, companion qualities that we can encourage. One thing I've noticed is that resilience has a lot to do with perspective. Resilient people tend to understand that there are things over which we have little control. You are not in charge of other people's actions. Situations come up which you cannot stop from happening. What you can control is how you respond. As a child, I was not very resilient. I always felt like I was not in control of my life. Like I suffered at the whims of others' kindness or cruelty. Bullies were a regular feature in my school life, and the unpredictability that comes with alcoholism was ever present at home. It took me years to overcome my sense of having no agency and no control. People who are resilient have a good perspective about what they are in charge of and what is out of their control. Resilient people do not expect their energy do not expend their energy trying to control others or complaining about things that are beyond their control. They focus their attention on what they can control, their responses to what is going on within and around them. Another quality of resilient people I have discovered is playfulness and imagination. Serious people don't bounce. Think about the way most of us get when we're faced with significant trauma in life. We tend to overvalue the power the event holds over us. Having a sense of humor, or better, a sense of life's absurdity, is important. It is the experience of, oh, wow, instead of, oh, no. Alexander Fleming left some dirty petri dishes on his workstation and went away on a trip. And when he got back, he was not surprised that most of them were contaminated. He was sorting through them to see what he could salvage, which was not much. But he noticed something odd in one dish, and perhaps you've heard this story before. He discovered penicillin from his sloppy lab. Instead of saying, oh no, he said, oh wow, there are stories like this for the invention of pacemakers and air conditioners and post-it notes. Imagination and playfulness can help us see possibilities where others see only obstacles and adversity. Let me offer you another quality of resilient people. They keep perspective. They can be playful, and they are persistent. Persistent people keep plugging away at the problems in life and thus tend to accomplish some pretty positive things. I bumped into the story of one child helping their younger sibling learn to jump into the swimming pool. The younger one kept hovering at the edge. Don't be scared. But I'm scared, she would cry, and her older sibling would try to comfort her. You'll be fine. I'm right here. You don't need to be afraid. Don't be scared. But nothing worked. The younger child hovered at the edge of the pool and would not jump in. I'm scared. Nothing worked. Until an older lady at the pool swam by and said, it's okay to be scared. Do it anyway. Do it scared. That proved to be the helpful advice. Instead of don't be scared, do it scared. Persistence is not about perfection. It's not about having it all together and keeping it all together along the way. Persistence is about doing it anyway. And to keep doing it, even when you're scared, even when it's not working yet, even if others don't join in. It's about falling down and getting back up again and again and again. You don't need to be perfect. All you need is to have failed or fallen down or gotten lost or broken. Resilience is about rising up again and again, with perspective, with playfulness, and with persistence. Add a little prayer, and amazing things are possible. But we can be resilient like Jackie Robinson, or Alexander Fleming, or Maya Angelou, because we all have wings. Like Humpty Dumpty, all of us can fly, but sometimes we have to break to discover it. Do not fear failure or falling down. Or go ahead and fear it. But don't let that fear stop you. Don't run away from mistakes and heartbreak. Love boldly. Reach for the impossible. Throw yourself into it. Fly. Perhaps some of you know that Douglas Adams bit about flying. It's in his classic book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He says, there's a knack to flying. The knack lies in learning how to throw yourself at the ground and miss. This quote always reminds me of something my kids' Aikido instructor told us about falling. This was years ago when my kids were little. Mr. Cuffy was explaining how a central and basic skill in Aikido was learning how to fall without getting hurt. It involves having an awareness of your body and of physics and the development of certain skills. He described slipping on the sidewalk on an icy day. It was one of those cinematic slips when like both feet are in the air before he started to actually fall. And someone came rushing over to help him back on his feet and to see if he needed to get to a hospital. But Mr. Cuffy had landed with a roll, dusted the snow off his pants, and walked on. He said it's a surreal feeling to slip like that, and while you're falling, to know that you're going to land okay. He knew because he'd spent years training himself how to fall well. Do you know how to fall well? Maybe not literally, as Mr. Cuffy could do, but metaphorically. Can you fall well? Maybe when you fall, unlike Mr. Cuffy, you do get hurt. So maybe you don't fall well. But do you know how to rise after the fall? Do you rise well? Brené Brown reminds us from the reading that I offered earlier, there is no greater threat to the critics and the cynics and the fearmongers than those of us who are willing to fall because we have learned how to rise. There is hope in knowing this. There will always be people who revel in seeing someone else fall down, seeing someone else suffer. The critics and cynics and fearmongers, Brené Brown calls them, we've been socialized to think that falling down reflects poorly on us. But truly, the rising up is where the power resides. And we can't rise up if we haven't fallen down a time or two. Rising up is what we all can do. It is what we all actually do quite a lot. It's the heartbeat of social movement and social change. Resilience is not just about personal capacity to respond well to adversity. It's about our communal capacity to usher in change at a societal level when faced with injustice and tyranny. Historical scholar Howard Zinn offers this remarkable insight. He said, when you have models of how people can come together, even for a brief period, it suggests that it could happen for longer periods. When you think about it, that's the way things operate in the scientific world. So why not socially? As soon as the Wright brothers could keep a plane aloft for 27 seconds, everyone knew from that point on that a plane might be kept aloft for hours. And the same is socially and true culturally. If true community, he goes on to say, can stay aloft for 27 seconds, it's only a matter of time before such a community can last for hours. Only a matter of time before a beloved community, as Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of, can come into being. There are thousands of examples of this in history and contemporary affairs. We can rise. We do. We can support each other in communities of hope and resilience. I've seen it. And I know we can do it really well for at least 27 seconds at a go. I'm sure of it. With patience, we extend the length of that grace over minutes and hours. Each time we respond to failure and brokenness with perspective, playfulness, and persistence, and a little prayer, we extend the length of time we can keep our resilient selves and this resilient community aloft. It's okay to be broken or cracked or flat out fallen on the ground. It's okay because you are resilient. We all have wings. It's okay because rising up again comes after falling down. And if you can only rise for 27 seconds, it will be enough. And we know that it's only a matter of time before we all have our wings unfurled like a network of mutuality to rise and bless the beautiful world together. In a world without end, may it be so.